Welcome to Real Flix Reviews, like a book club for people who hate reading. This month we're doing grab bags, so I picked the perennial classic, Raiders of the Lost Ark, made in 1981. I bring you movie news, and this week we have Jonathan Charney, James Stevens, and Ryan Preston. So here's the description of the Raiders of the Lost Ark in 1981. Archaeologist and adventurer Indiana Jones is hired by the U.S. government to find the Ark of the Covenant before the Nazis.
See, Nazis are bad. Die.
And this has Harrison Ford, Karen Allen, Gimli, son of Gloin, John Rice Davies. And honestly, I think that's the only people on this movie that I actually know.
And Harrison Ford wasn't really that famous at this time still. I mean, he had Star Wars in the bag. That was about it.
70. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
So this is another big film for him.
And kind of solidified himself as the action guy at the time.
Yeah, and this was done by the Golden Boy. This is Steven Spielberg, and I think George Lucas had some involvement.
Studios was involved with this.
And this, I've always loved Indiana Jones. My favorite one is actually the third one, because I don't consider the fourth one part of the Indiana Jones.
I barely consider the second one part of the Indiana Jones.
Yeah, I've always let it kind of go as nostalgia on the second one. The fourth one, I know.
See, I consider,
and he's rumored for number 5 too, guys.
I consider a trilogy, so not a quadrilogy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, the fourth one, which we're not gonna really bring up again because it's not worth bashing on it. But it might be the worst thing ever made.
I know. See, I think it's worth bashing on it, but it's the one movie, to get a little bit of a sidebar, that even people who love The Matrix can't defend.
Yeah, but I mean, when you come up with a fridge, just...
So matter of fact, there's video games that make fun of it. The first thing I got to say, though, they don't really make movies like this anymore. Matter of fact, even in the 80s, they didn't make movies like this anymore. This, to me, was kind of like a throwback to a lost adventure film, maybe 40s, 50s. Just the feeling of this movie.
Well, this movie actually has one of the most iconic movie scenes ever, honestly.
Which one?
When he's got the guy with the sword flipping it all over, and he pulls the gun out and shoots, and that was completely ad-libbed, but that is like iconic movie. You show that to practically anybody, everybody knows it's Raiders of the Lost Ark.
That and the scene where he's running away in the beginning from that giant stone ball.
Yes, and the stone ball. I mean, there's just,
this is just a great movie.
Allie's like,
just about everything from this movie became unbelievably iconic, even to a person who has never seen the movie. And I mean, everyone knows the pulling the sand out and trading it with the idol. Everyone knows the ball chasing thing.
I think up until the point that it actually hurt the sequel, and the fact that they had to they ran into sequel syndrome a little bit, where they had to try to top the first one, and I don't think they were ever really successful at up until the third one.
Heck no. I mean, that was horrible.
Well, the third one was a little bit of a return to form, because there's a lot of adventure movies, and they all kind of touch on different genres of mysticism or something like that. This one went for like straight up like Christian mythology. You know what I mean? In as much as like the Ark of the Covenant and things like that.
Well, I think the benefit about that is, at least in the time in the 80s and all that time, that was something everybody was more familiar with. So that was kind of that was a little bit more common versus.
They went off the register with number 2 and then brought it back for 3.
Well, hold on. Let me just put it this way. So you have Raiders of the Lost Ark. So you have the Ark, right? Mm-hmm. You got the Nazis looking for it. People knew that the Nazis were really big into, mysticism as well, and things like that. And then you have the Temple of Doom, where they're going after some stupid little stone thing, right? And that was a flop. And then you have the Holy Grail. Another Crusades thing, iconic. People know about it. That seems to be their big one. If they go and then they go to number 4, and they go for Crystal Skull, which is another thing not as well known as the Christian mythology stuff.
Well, no,
I think for number 5 they need to go for the Spear of Destiny. Come on, guys, go with Go with what works.
No, I actually agree. I think it's one of the problem when Western movies, a little bit of sidebar, go for something that's not core to the realm. Like they start really going something that really hammers on Asian culture.
Oh.
Like in America, at least in Western culture, I think you got, Ark of the Covenant. You've got the other one. I think that works. And Holy Grail. And I love this movie. Some of the effects honestly don't age well, but considering this was in 1981 and this is very early CG, if they did any CG in this movie.
You mean the melting faces didn't hold up?
Actually, I actually thought that actually was a pretty good effect. One scene was the Clipper ship. So that was the Clipper plane, and the way it was cut, people were disappearing in a section, and that wasn't the great. And you had the Ghostbuster-esque effects.
But the Ghostbuster-esque effects was just like ethereal things. It wasn't pretending to look like something tangible. It was almost supposed to look that.
Well, they kind of switched the faces a little bit.
I would say this is me nitpicking a 30-year-old movie, so.
But I think for the time and
30?
like even looking back on it, they did everything practical that you possibly could.
Oh no, and this is in the 80s. You also had movies like Tron came out, which actually did not even get a mention in the awards because they thought CGI was cheating. So this is in the era where CGI really started kicking up a notch. So
John, let me make you feel a little better, dude. Even if CGI wasn't cheating at the time, that movie still sucked ass.
It's definitely a movie you have to like. I mean, it's kind of like drinking beer. It's an acquired taste.
Yeah, you have to watch it multiple times until your taste buds die.
No, that's Labyrinth. So I mean, I love everything about this movie, even though they're flying over the seas when they did the map effect.
Yeah, I thought that was a fun thing.
I always liked that in John Rhys Davies' character. Who is just a goofy character. He starts singing. Was it Sullivan and?
Yeah.
I forgot the musical.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
But I don't know. This movie is just a great old fashioned action adventure movie.
And I got to give it to Karen Allen. I mean, she was also one of the nerd cute chicks that was tough. It was kind of like the Princess Leia style.
Where, she was a bitchin' female character.
Yeah, just fantastic. And I think she did really well acting in the film. I don't think she did anything
super badass.
Completely out of, way great, but she did a great job, and it was actually.
I mean, dude, when you first get introduced to her and she's having the drinking contest, that's like one of the greatest scenes ever.
I mean, that is actually one of my favorite scenes.
Totally, because she's totally playing it up because she does the same thing to the French Nazi guy.
Yeah.
Or the guy who's being held captive by blah blah blah, depending on which way you want to go.
No, he's a French Nazi.
But yeah,
German Nazis. There are other Nazis.
There's Japanese Nazis technically.
Yes.
But it's so hard to try to nitpick this movie because to me this is a movie I grew up watching. It's just like the original Star Wars non-special edition that has a special place in my heart.
Get some VHS.
Well, look, I mean this movie does not take place in the time that it was made. And what was this, 80?
Yeah, 81.
81. Okay, so this movie does not take place in 81. It takes place in the 20s.
Which is honestly one of the reasons I actually think this movie ages as well as it does.
Exactly, because when you have period correct things, no matter how far you go into the movie making future, it's still period correct.
40?
And even with the filmmaking style in the time, I mean, it was way more authentic of an action movie sequence than like the big CGI stuff that they would add to it now.
So it did not go looking for.
So it could have been. It was probably, if anything, late 30s.
Late 30s, early 40s.
Yeah, he's right.
I had to catch it there. Right, it was not 1920. Hitler was in power, and the Nazis were looking for those types of weapons. So that was late 30s, early 40s. So.
And I guess
my mistake. You're right.
And the other thing, I mean, I guess everybody's kind of a stereotypical character. Even Harrison Ford, to some degree, is kind of actually, I kind of think maybe the founding archetype, at least in the latter half of the 20th century, of the archaeologist adventurer. I know there were more back in the day.
There were, and he was actually the Indiana Jones character was actually based off of two archaeologists. I forget their names, but from what I understand. Steven Spielberg and George Lucas were hanging out in Hawaii and talking about the archaeologist that they admired, and they came up with this character. That's what I heard in the documentary. Don't know if it's completely legit. Didn't come from their mouth, but they were saying that there was actually that they were basing it off of real archaeologists that were actually going out, and I think one of them was one of the Mayan guys that went down and discovered a lot of Mayan ruins.
Because I mean, even the bad guy archaeologist is kind of the he's smart but lazy, so he follows indie style architect. You had the traditional evil Nazi who just wanted to hurt people.
I still like his coat hanger. That thing is cool.
I'm trying to think. The one scene, I guess the ending scene was the scene I always loved. The face melting scene. Even as a kid, I was like, that's awesome.
I actually kind of thought it was funny because they stick the box in a Warehouse 13 type of thing.
Oh yeah,
the TV show type thing where they just stick it in there with everything else and it burns off the Nazi symbol. I always thought that was cool.
I was actually going to say that was the one part that I remember, or when I saw it as an early kid, I didn't get it, but later on it was like, that was a good touch, because they could have literally left it and nobody would have said anything, but having the Ark of the Covenant burn off an evil symbol, I thought was a great touch.
Yeah.
What do you think, Ryan?
Yeah, I thought.
Oh yeah, I mean, and it's those little things that they kind of pay attention to. I mean, as much as Steven Spielberg is known for these really big scope, amazing, epic stories, I mean, the attention to detail, especially. I mean, this was the story and writing credits are all from George Lucas and Lawrence Kasdan. Lawrence Kasdan wrote Empire and Jedi, or at least I think he wrote Jedi. I know he wrote Empire.
So according to this, he did. Let's see. Wow, he's actually done a number of stuff.
Oh, dude, yeah, he's
wow,
really famous.
Wow. So according to this, he's a screenwriter for Paradise Lost, Stay Close, Robotech, cartoon, Star Wars, Emperor Strikes Back, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Body Heat, Return of the Jedi, Big Chill. So he's done a lot of stuff, up and including, it looks like he was also involved in the latest Star Wars, Force Awakens.
He wrote most of that damn movie, which is why it was so good.
Yeah, he's really well known.
So was there any part of the movie that you didn't, I don't know, that you didn't like? Because that was the one question I since I watched it, like I was trying to say, is there anything that really stood out to me as just not liking? And I was actually having a hard time picking anything.
I don't think there's really anything in this film that I don't like.
No,
I mean, I even like the scene where he comes out and they go over to the plane, and the big Nazi guy comes down and kind of like, hey, come on, I want to fight. That scene, I mean, there's just a lot of fun in this film. Like even the snakes. I hate snakes. Why does it have to be snakes? Asp. Very dangerous.
I mean, I could nitpick.
I love that.
The flying wing is actually a scene I could nitpick. There's a few things.
The what?
The flying wing was a very unstable aircraft.
Oh.
Jeez. Like I said, I could nitpick. Another favorite scene of mine.
But they didn't do anything with it.
It didn't really fly a lot. Like I said, I could nitpick. I
don't like that they chose that Nazi plane.
Right.
Pick another Nazi plane.
Well, I don't know if they actually had it. It was an American plane. But like I said, I can nitpick. Actually, one of my favorite scenes, my all-time favorite scene, just recently was the scene they're in that restaurant and Harrison Ford says, "Let's die together. I have nothing else." Yeah. And he points a gun, and all of a sudden, all the other guys just go. He's like, "Whoa!" And those kids come running to his rescue.
Better than the Marines.
There's a lot of comedy for this movie, and it's not over the top comedy. It's the perfect pairing with an action scene, or I think it tones. I think it keeps the tone perfect. It's a light movie. It's not one of these movies you have to slog through.
I've got 2 words for you: no ticket. I mean, come on. That's the timing of that shit. The comedy was organic, which is what we always talk about with these kinds of movies. If it's not just a jokey joke movie, the comedy has to come from an organic place.
Yes.
You know, and this movie, I mean, in my opinion, seriously, everybody's trying to do this movie. Anytime somebody makes an adventure movie, they're trying to make this movie. You know, this is the benchmark, and it has been for 30 years.
And unfortunately, that's one of the reasons I you know, it's just said this has become an archetype because everybody's trying to be the new indie, and every movie since then that tries to copy that, you're like, ugh.
Yeah.
I would even say
his name, Sheila LaBeouf. You're not indie.
Matter of fact, I would even say The Mummy for with Brendan Fraser in some degrees took inspiration for the character from Indiana Jones.
I would say
that's exactly what it did. I mean, it and the idea of the archaeologist, you know, from back in the day when all this technology wouldn't have helped the adventure. See, that's the time period for these adventure movies is so perfect.
Oh yeah,
because you have the perfect technology to get you so far, but then you're still riding horses to get to certain places. And you don't have, you know, ground penetrating radar to look for shit.
And I would also say what they know is also the greatest era for, like, knowledge-wise. That like with the mysticism and stuff people believe. It's the perfect breeding ground for perfect story. Like you could never have that now in modern days because you'd have somebody say, well, that didn't happen because this, and that, and just you would explain away the movie, which one of the reasons I think modern movies sucks because it's really easy to do.
There was things back then, you know, especially in the 20s, 30s, and 40s, you know, like the mystery of the Orient kind of thing.
Yes,
you know what I mean? Like where it's like this unknown culture where you would only see it in movies. I mean, how Indian people were portrayed in movies up until like the 90s, you know?
Yeah.
And I meant Indians.
And
like
2015 and 2015 to some Adam Sandler movies.
Right.
Oh man, it's really hard to say anything negative about this movie. I could literally just sit here and talk about favorite scenes, and we could probably just talk about the whole movie. One thing I got to say, it was a great touch, and you didn't use it a lot in this movie, was the whip.
Yeah.
I thought that was an eloquent addition because it's a great story. Like it's a great tool to use. You know, as far as in the movies, like, okay, you do this. How does this happen? Oh, just use the whip.
You know, I would think the one thing, if you're nitpicking scenes, when he's going underneath the car, that was a really well-made pair of pants and jacket, I just got to say.
Yeah.
Sure.
But, you know, that would be it. And
it was asbestos.
The one thing I always thought was, like, how did he ever get the whip back? I mean, hopefully it stayed on the truck.
I'm assuming he just bought, like, a lot of them because he left it in the beginning of the movie. And he lost it there. I'm pretty sure just somewhere he had a drawer
full of whips.
Exactly.
And the fact that he only had one revolver. That kind of.
Oh, I love the fact during the middle of the movie he switched to a 1911 on the pirate ship.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, what took you so long? The 1911 came out 30 years after when this movie was supposed to take place.
I mean, you got all those guys. I mean, you know, he was from back in the day. Those old-fashioned wheel guns were way more reliable to them. You know, 45's got a pretty historic jamming problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
It's fixable.
I'm not arguing that. It's just.
But you got to keep your freaking 1911 that clean when you're running around that dirty of a place.
Just use an AK.
Right, exactly. So that's why it's again perfect for the time. Is even the weaponry is limited. You know, you don't have like Desert Eagles that you're running around with, or big giant scopes with reflex sights.
Which, by the way, nobody's ever, except in movies, carrying around a Desert Eagle. That is.
I mean, you know what I'm saying. I
if
mean,
you're
a
Israeli,
example.
I give them out like candy.
I don't even see Israelis shoulder holstering like a 19, like a Desert Eagle.
I mean, like a Glock 19, for example. I mean, arguably the most reliable pistol ever. You don't have that. You got like an old fashioned 6-shooter. Yeah. You got 6 shots. Make them count.
And I think part of that honestly is the mystique of the age, like you're saying, Ryan, and this character. Like, he's an archaeologist, so he's obviously not using the latest and greatest, which adds to the mystique. One of the reasons for the whip, even the hat, I think, even adds to the kind of, this guy's not the hippest guy in the room.
Well, the hat was just, kind of like, I mean, obviously they explained it pretty much as like the beginning of his archaeology career. You know,
in the Holy Grail.
Yeah.
Like if they tell you.
Oh,
about
that's
it
right. That was in Holy Grail that they did that. Yeah, the whole opening scene with young Indiana. Yeah.
Don't put that in with Crystal Skull. That is not canon.
I would also say I don't know if you're our age, you know the TV series Young Indiana Jones. I don't know how canon it is, but it's a great series.
I wouldn't say it's canon.
Part of it,
but you know what? It's lore.
The only
I would say Indiana Jones has lore. There's really no canon to it.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I'd kind of hope it would be at least a little bit.
Well, he's named after the dog.
That's not his real name, though.
I know.
Jeez. Crap.
He just looked at the time.
Yeah. So Ryan, what do you give this movie?
5. I mean, they're like I said. I mean, everyone's playing for second.
Yeah, I agree. 5. There's no question that this one is a 5.
No, crap. This is rare. 5.
Yeah. Like we said, like Ryan's pointed out, is that everybody's chasing to be Indiana Jones, and nobody really is Indiana Jones except for Harrison Ford.
This is definitely a 5 out of 5, and I think the rare thing is this is a perfect movie.
Yeah, seriously, you can fill this to your kids in 25 years, and when they're 6 years old, and they're gonna love it just as much as we did.
Yeah.
And it's the best thing. It's not like modern movies who, to be hip, they're hyper violent or have to have sex. This is quality storytyping with somewhat stereotypical characters, and it's still an amazing movie. What's special about this movie is everything. I think this is a rare movie, especially even for the 80s.
I mean, the way that I put it is, if you ever want to know why Lucas and Spielberg are who they are and how famous they are, just go watch the original 3 Star Wars and this one.
Yeah.
And that will answer your question.
I would say the 3rd Indiana Jones.
And the 3rd one. You can skip it, but I mean, you should at least see it just for Short Round or whatever his name is. Damn it, I can't think of his name. Indian guy or the Asian guy. What was his name?
You're asking the wrong guy.
Short Round.
Short Round? What's a Short Round?
Yeah.
Okay, so.
I'd say watch the 3rd one specifically for Harrison Ford and Sean Connery's interaction.
They are amazing.
They play off each other on screen. It's amazing. It really is.
Yeah, it is.
Very, very few times in history does a sequel add a character like that, and it becomes like almost as good as the first one, like fresh again.
Yeah.
I think this one and Die Hard 3.
Yeah.
When they added Sam Jackson, him and Bruce Willis playing off each other was friggin' perfect.
Yeah, that was a pretty good teaming.
Yeah, I'll give you that. So
and this one, adding Sean Connery was so good.
It was.
So I'll just let you know, we do have a Facebook page. You love us, hate us. Matter of fact, if you send us hate mail, we'll read you and most likely ridicule on the air. Or if you have something positive to say about the show, send it our way. Send it our way. We'll read it on air. Also,
I don't care.
Donate to Old Guy Tech TV and help keep the lights on.
He cares.
I do, actually. I'm a sucker for this old place. Minus all the spider webs. So in the bringing back of monster characters, Johnny Depp is going to be is being involved in the Invisible Man.
Wait. So we're going from Kevin Bacon to Johnny Depp?
Well, I don't know if that was classified.
Okay, yeah, that was Hollow Man. That was like a different, like an adaptation. Are we talking like Invisible Man? Was that Wells?
Yeah.
Okay, so like Invisible Wells. H.G. Wells.
Yeah, I mean the last Invisible Man that I remember that was actually I could give a shit about was with Chevy Chase in the early 90s, I think, was an Invisible Man.
Oh, shoot, I forgot about that.
Yeah, me too.
Wow.
So according to this, and this is from Deadline.com, Johnny Depp has set to star in the Invisible Man for Universal Pictures. The same one I think is bringing everybody's favorite short guy to the Mummy.
Who's everybody's favorite short guy?
Tom Cruise.
Oh, wait, what? No, he's dude. Go away.
And this is part of, I guess, to reestablish the monster movie classic. So I expect to see more of these being dragged out. I'm expecting Frankenstein, Dracula.
Didn't he just do Benicio del Toro as Wolfman or something like that?
Yeah, but see, I don't think this was actually under under that. I'm hoping if the Invisible Man, it's going to be in the same era as Indiana Jones, because I don't think Invisible Man's going to be really good in the modern time. What do you think, Ryan?
I think it's a flop. Honestly,
I think John's got a point. I mean, if they do it like an old school telling of the story, I think they got a chance. But I mean, doing like the modern take. I mean, how many modern takes have we seen of these kinds of things? I think if they're picking up the Invisible Man property, like the H.G. Wells Invisible Man, they probably have a reason for it.
I mean, if we're gonna have Elephant Man come out, we're gonna have the Swamp Thing. I mean, are we doing all this stuff?
I mean, look, how many times did they make Dracula back in the
Yeah,
and
they're still trying.
And the best thing about the Dracula is 95% of them starred the same guy.
Yeah,
exactly. I mean, but I mean, that was like, you can count on that shit once every couple of years.
See, I think this is starting to get back into the original, if like the original mythos, like it's kind of like a Dracula reset. Then I'm okay with it. Kind of stay with the mythos they created, an Interview with a Vampire.
I thought that was great.
But I mean, my point is, I mean, you're not going to get anybody to go back and watch Lon Chaney or Lon Chaney Jr. at that, or Boris Karloff or Bela Lugosi. I mean, these people are going to be lost to time. So that's the reason they made these like it's like the standards, you know what I mean? Like you get all the old Italian crooners and they all sing the same goddamn 14 songs.
I mean, are we gonna have Elvira presents this stuff?
I mean, that'd be
Elvira.
I know, come on.
Jeez.
What? What? I mean, Elvira wasn't really a racy character. She dressed skimpy, but she wasn't stupid.
No, she wasn't a slut. Empowering for women.
Yeah, I don't see. Is a guy who's a fan of these characters, I'll watch him. But
did you watch The Wolfman with Benicio del Toro?
I haven't seen it yet, actually.
See, you lie.
I would see it.
Go watch it.
But I'm also the same guy who would watch Bela Lugosi and Lon Chaney and.
But you got something against Benicio.
I mean, Mr. Mumble.
I was waiting for it. I figured I'd poke you long
we've
enough.
done movies in 1939, Young Mr. Lincoln. So I mean, we're kind of the choir this movies are trying to preach to. So I think the hardest thing they're going to have is trying to figure out how to make it hip in the world that has Transformers.
Well, I mean,
I think is Michael Bay or
things,
Tim Burton involved?
I mean, look, a lot of H.G. Wells' stuff. I mean, you're talking Time Machine and things like that. I mean, almost needed the technology that we have now to be able to really pull them off. I mean, they tried to do Time Machine in early 2000s with Guy Pearce.
Oh, the problem. I'll be honest. I actually like there's one made in '60ish that I actually really like. That's a movie I actually just don't think anybody wants to see. I actually thought
I thought the newest Time Machine wasn't horrible.
Yeah,
no, it wasn't horrible. I like Guy Pearce for one, but
he's the only reason I saw it. Honestly,
that movie, if it can't exist with today's technology, I mean, it should only really exist in your mind, because nothing else back in the day would have been, kind of doing the story justice.
So, according to the article, it said that's Kurtzman and Morgan, it doesn't say the first names, at least in the article I'm reading right now, say they've been hashing out the monster universe. So this definitely sounds like there's going to be more of these heading down in the pike.
No director or writer other than H.G. Wells tagged, but
So I don't know. I mean, I'm looking forward to them just because I really am a fan of traditional monster movies. My big issue is if this is going to take place in modern time, it's going to suck, because I'll be honest, these characters have no place in 2016.
No, this one, well, from what I read on the IMDb of the Invisible Man 2018 is that it's going to take place in World War II.
See, that to me, World War II, 1940-ish or 30s or 20s, I think that's the only way these characters are going to be, honestly, even believable.
He got caught in an explosion of the Nazi bell.
I'm in.
So I mean,
totally kidding. I have no idea. They didn't go in that much depth.
So if these take place in the days of yore, then I think they have a chance. But if they're modern take, it's going to turn out to be the Beastmaster in L.A.
Well, I'll
which
tell
is
you
the
what I
second
mean.
one.
Based on what
like
what
Hercules
James
in
is saying,
New
like they're going to try to bring back the monster, the old school monster genre. I don't think they're going to be hard pressed to find writers and directors who would be really, really thrilled to death to bring that kind of thing back.
Yeah,
I think the hardest. I think the hardest part, honestly, is are they going to do it justice? Are they going to do it good? Or is this going to be just something they're just going to churn and burn movies like Disney's going to do to Star Wars? And I got more news for you on that one. Disney CEO Bob Iger confirms Han Solo movie for 2018 is going to be released.
That doesn't make me happy.
Harrison
Ford is dying.
He's dead in the universe.
Dying.
Spoiler alert. I'll be honest.
Who are they going to have? I mean, is this going to be like young Han Solo?
Oh, no, I'm pretty sure this is going to explain him, because in the expanded universe, he was a pilot for the Emperor, and he didn't want to kill Chewbacca, and so happened. So I think it's going to explain.
So happened?
Yeah.
He had a kid?
You know what I mean.
Is that what you're saying?
Okay, etc.
Yada, he had a kid.
Etc. I think it's going to explain him. I think at this point they're running out of ideas, so they're going to explain Princess Leia and Luke Skywalker's childhood and Boba Fett, which I heard is supposed to come down the pike too.
I heard Boba Fett's not supposed to be dead.
So what do you think,
he
Ryan?
Got spit out by the Rancor.
I mean, I think this is going to be pretty typical for somebody like Disney. I mean, the same way that Lucasfilm milked the toy line for everything that it was possibly worth. They're going to do the same with this. They know that everybody's wanted a Boba Fett movie, and then regardless of what character, I mean, you can have the adventures of the Bantha, and Star Wars fans would go to check it out. You know, they'd buy that opening day ticket. So that's what a lot of these things are about. I think they're really only.
I don't know. The Christmas special didn't go very well.
People weren't lining up for the Ewok adventures.
But see, the thing is, to me, I think they're only obligated to do the trilogy movies well. So beyond that, it's like, all right,
Christmas carols.
I'll take my kids to see it or some bullshit.
I'll be honest. Maybe I'm just not the world's biggest Star Wars fan, but I'm happy with the big tentpole movies being 7, 8, 9. I don't particularly want to see individual story movies about Han Solo and his brother's nephew, cousin's roommate.
Wait a minute. But they're doing it with Marvel and DC.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, exactly.
Speaking of which, I'm excited for Deadpool.
We take those pretty much on a case-by-case basis.
I care less.
Yeah, true. No, I don't disagree. I think probably for me it also has to do with the fact that, like pretty much everybody, Star Wars is my childhood, and I don't want to see particularly Disney destroy them. And I think unlike Marvel, I grew up with Marvel as a comic book. Comic books change every day, every week. It's like comic book is pretty much like wrestling. Watch an episode, it changes. Star Wars, to me, shouldn't freaking change, George Lucas. Apparently you can't get any of them to disagree.
I don't care.
Well, yeah, no. I mean, look, it's not like The Simpsons where every 3 years the writers change and now it's somebody else's show. I mean, it's the fans are the ones that are taking their kids to see it. It's not a bunch of new people really finding this movie. Otherwise, you're just kind of lost on what the hell's going on with episode 7 over here.
I do think that's why they kind of rebooted the franchise the way they did 7, though. 7 was kind of a soft reboot, in my opinion.
But not real. I mean, they explained a couple of things, but I mean, you really, unless your freaking parents are standing over you saying, now that's Han Solo. He pilots the Millennium Falcon, and he and Luke met on Tatooine and in the bar, and you'd be lost, you know.
I hear a Weird Al song coming on. But no, I don't disagree. Don't say that we get pulled off of YouTube.
Naboo was under it. And I thought me and Qui-Gon Jinn.
We're so gonna get pulled off of YouTube.
The Federation in. Cutting them a little slack.
I don't know.
But their response didn't kill us.
So I don't know. I just
they locked the door and tried to kill us.
I also think because we're really running late. The other thing is I think that Marvel introduced the characters, individual movies, then the big movie. They're kind of doing this back-asswards, so I don't know if it'll work. I mean, it's going to make money no matter what. Will it be good is the different thing.
You know, necessarily, I mean, there's two schools going on with the whole episode.
Wait, there's a test?
Schools. No, there's two schools of thought. People are saying it's crap. People are saying it's good. I don't give a rat's ass. Make the damn movies. If they're good, they're good. If they suck, they suck. Stop bitching about all this little stuff, whether or not it's going to be canon or not. Watch the damn movie. Shut the hell up.
And talk about whether it sucks or not. Next week is James' pick, so you're up.
Oh, all right. So we're going to jump into a genre that we don't touch very often. We are doing the 1990 version of Night of the Living Dead.
Interesting.
Talk about a creepy childhood. I saw this when it came out on VHS. I was 9.
And yes,
yeah.
And James is as weird as that in real life, trust me.
And we are also going to start watching the first episode of Outsiders with Opie from... I don't remember the actor's name, but Opie from...
Wait, you don't remember one of the greatest directors of the 20th century, Ron Howard?
No, we're not talking about Opie from that. We're talking about the Opie that will kill you. Actually, he was kind of a nice guy, wasn't he? He might beat you up really bad.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I gave Raiders of the Lost Ark, the first Indiana Jones movie, and one of a trilogy, a 5 out of 5. James gave it a 5 out of 5. Ryan gave it a 5 out of 5. Next week is the 90s version of
Night of the Living Dead.
And
Outsiders.
And as always, see you next week.
Goodbye.
Thank you.